Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for joining. I'm so excited. I have here Cameron Meehan, who works with me at UiPath and leads one of our product marketing teams. If you remember in my last video, I mentioned that I was going to bring in someone that works in product marketing to give you a feel of what it means to be a product manager versus a product marketing manager. And just a side note, if you didn't watch my last two videos about a day in the life of a product manager, I would probably watch them. Otherwise, this video is not going to make nearly as much sense. So with that, Cameron, so great to have you. Thanks for being here. Can you just introduce yourself, give us a little bit of context about your background, how you got into product marketing, and we'll go from there.
Hey, thank you for having me. And a great intro. So I'm Cameron Meehan. I am a product marketer and I support AI and analytics products currently today. So my background was really in consulting. I worked for a small boutique consulting firm for a number of years, almost a decade. And that was helping customers find homes for emerging technologies. That could be finding new customers, new segments that they could tackle, or what changes they need to make to be successful in the marketplace. So that was really great because it gave me a ton of skills in working with different stakeholders, researching technologies and markets and competitors, and then also creating a variety of assets, right? It's, how do you create a piece of collateral or an asset that's going to be able to help shape the perspectives of others. So after that, I spent a year in a corporate environment. So that was awesome because I got to, from the inside, understand, how the decisions are made, how they understand what their challenges are for their business, and then how they either come up with a solution and deploy it or decide to not do anything at all. So that's kind of what brought me into product marketing. So after the year in the corporate world, I found this opportunity, and I've been in love with it ever since.
That's amazing. So I guess tell us a little bit about your educational background. Obviously, you work on a very technical product with me now. It's an analytics product. Do you have a technical background? Do you think that you should have one if you don't?
Great question. I would say no. You don't need to have a technical background. I don't. I have a background in marketing. So, and marketing is such a broad term, right? It encapsulates so many things today. When you think about marketing, from social media to blogging to creating digital assets and a whole variety of other things. When you go to school in marketing, you kind of get a little entry into all of those fields, and then you kind of get out of school and you got to start applying them and see what makes sense for you. And that's the route I did. But you don't need a technical background, but you do need a willingness to learn and a willingness to try and make the connection between what is the need and what is our solution trying to provide to our customers.
That makes a ton of sense. So what kind of attributes do you think are important for being a product marketer?
Absolutely. So I mentioned the first one, which is that willingness to learn, right? You got to be able to ask good questions and not be afraid to. You won't know everything. You need inputs from a variety of areas from your business. So it's really critical that you're willing to kind of raise your hand up and say, why are we doing that? Or what does it mean? Or how's it going to work? The second would be to kind of research. You got to be able to augment that knowledge that's been shared with you with your own kind of understanding and kind of going out there and understanding, what competitors are doing, what's happening in the marketplace, what are your customers doing, right? I mean, the business environments change rapidly, and you need to be able to stay on top of it. So jumping in and doing research is really important. And that leads to just staying aware, right? Having an open mind and looking around and saying, is this important? What does that mean for my business, my customers, how we should be building the product, and being able to try and, bring it all together into some type of I think this is the direction we should be going and talking about and, communicating. And then the last piece, oh, go ahead. Were you going to say something, Michelle?
No, you're good. You're good.
The last one is communicating, right? You're learning a lot through this process, right? The research and talking with people. But when it comes down to it, you need to be able to take what you've learned, take what your company and business is doing, and then being able to share that out with prospects and sales teams and other areas in marketing. If you can't communicate, you're going to have a lot of challenges along the way.
funny you mentioned communication, which we're clearly so good at because I almost talked over you there. But I mentioned that as one of the core parts of product management in my last video. And for us, obviously we communicate in very different ways, but it's still so important to what we do. Obviously, I have a very clear picture of what I do as a day-to-day and, core parts of my job as a product manager. But can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the core parts of your role as a product marketing manager?
Awesome question. So there's a whole bunch of things that product marketing does, and it does vary by each organization and how they split out their marketing teams. I'm going to talk about kind of my experiences with it. So, and I'm going to start with one of the really important ones, and it's kind of a bit of a crossover between you and I, Michelle, which is customer personas. Right, you're building a product for our customers, right? The personas there are really critical. But in marketing, oftentimes we hone in on that persona as well, but we also have a few others, right? We're trying to also build personas for the stakeholders that are going to be making the buying decision or other areas of the business, right? So we want to make sure that we can provide appropriate messaging for them and make sure we understand what they care about, what their needs are. So it's kind of an expanded view of our customer personas. And in product marketing, right, a lot of what we do is it's grounded in understanding these different personas within an organization. And that may also expand further if our product or service has a bunch of different markets, right? We may have personas for each market or different areas within a business. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. The second is building on that is positioning, right? How do we align our solution to those personas? Right, we need to be thinking about, here's a need and here's our solution, right? How do those come together, and how do we position it in a way that the customer, the persona, they understand what we're trying to do there and they see the value in our solution, right? So it's really critical that we make really good alignment there, because if you have poor alignment, just like anywhere in life, you're probably going to end up with poor results. The third here is messaging. Product marketing lives and breathes messaging of the product and the business. This is the voice of the product or the voice of your business in most ways. So it's really critical that we understand who we're talking to, why we're talking to them, and then create messaging that it's not fluffy, right? It needs to be valuable, right? You're asking people to take time to read or watch or listen to you. You want to make sure you're providing them something of value there. That's more often than not, it needs to be also helping them understand there's a solution to something that they have a problem with. And this messaging is really structured in product marketing, right? You need to be able to craft it in a way that it can be used by other teams. Product marketing sets the tone and the messaging for the product or the business, and then that pushes its way out to the rest of the marketing organization. Think of social posts and blogs and a variety of other areas that you push out your company's messages.
For those of you wondering why I was laughing when Cameron said messaging, it's because I'm very specific about the kinds of messaging we can have for my product. There's actually one word that I am not okay with being in any of the messaging, and Cameron is a gem working around that word and coming up with other creative ways to talk about the product. But it's just a side note, but I thought that was a funny sidebar.
Which is also a great point, Michelle, right? Messaging isn't done in a bubble, it's a collaboration. Michelle and I work hand in hand all the time on messaging, right? Because one, we don't want to over promote or promote something in the wrong way or the wrong light. So she and I really collaborate hard on making sure that the messaging we produce is accurate and valuable to our customers. The next one would be sales enablement, right? Now that you've created messaging and you understand who you're going to be speaking to and how you position to those different personas, you also then need to create the assets and the material for your sales teams and for areas around the organization that are going to be speaking with customers. This is kind of the first big outlet of the work that you're doing, right? From an internal perspective is getting that message out. This asset list, it could be the blogs and the social posts we talked about that are getting pushed out that they could use with customers, but it's also case studies and demos. It's even training materials throughout your organization on how to use the product, how to talk about the product, and how to show it to your customer in a way that's going to provide value. And then the last one here is the go-to-market activities. This is really a lot of the strategy behind your product marketing efforts, right? It's a combination of a bunch of teams coming together to deliver on all the work that you and product and everyone else in the organization is doing. All right, think of a product launch, right? That's a key go-to-market activity, and it takes a ton of teams. So if we go back and we think of the attributes that are necessary, right? Understanding your market, communication, all those things, they really spearhead themselves right now in the go-to-market activities, and pushing out, your product capabilities, which customers are going to hear about it and when, all the different ways that you can magnify your messaging and make sure that everyone is in sync and in line, driving towards a single goal to get that message out.
I love that. I think that's a great summary, and good job looping back to those characteristics. Actually, I have a question for you. So you talk a lot about the characteristics needed to be good at product marketing. What's a good type of personality type to have, that you think is a better fit? Like, I know you and I react very differently to some situations, and I'm just wondering if you have, I guess, advice for people of a certain personality.
Absolutely. I think there's two. And these are both personality and more or less attributes as well. One is the first is very collaborative, right? As a product marketer, you have to collaborate with people. You have to be able to collaborate in a variety of different ways. So, for instance, Michelle and I work together all the time, but I'm also working with the rest of the broader marketing organization. I'm working with sales teams, customer success teams. They all have their own nuances, their own needs and challenges, and being able to effectively communicate and hear what they're saying and also share what you're saying back, like it's just absolutely a necessity. The second would be someone who likes to be organized, right? In product marketing, there's a lot of things happening all at once. You're building up for a product launch, or you're building up for a big campaign. You need to be able to step back, see the big picture, but also be able to dive into the detail and feel comfortable in all of the activities that are happening, track them, and keep moving forward in a succinct way between all the different teams.